Welcome to CPAC Now, America Uncanceled. I'm Mercedes Schlapp.
I'm Matt Schlapp. It's great to be with you again. It's great to have you with me again.
It's been a long week, but we're getting through it, and we're very excited about our next guest. But first of all, Schlapp, I actually tweeted something out. You know, you're usually the best tweeter husband type of thing, but my tweets, you know, I'm trying to catch up with you. I try to be competitive in a certain
Mercy
way.
and I did a radio show for a really long period of time on Sirius XM Patriot, and I used to call the President of the United States TOTUS, the tweeter of the United States, and I thought that was brilliant, and no one ever thought that was very funny. Well, I don't know what to call you, but it was a good tweet because as you can see on your screen, you're commenting on this insane interview that our vice president had with kind of a softball journalist. I mean, Lester Holt, you know, not known for like throwing the hard balls and asking all the tough questions, but even he completely trapped her within like 5 seconds.
It was ridiculous. And I tweeted out, must watch video. I can't believe she's our VP. Can't even answer a simple question. I mean, it was really painful to watch. If you have not seen this video, let's play it for you. And because it's just, I'm telling you, we've been in communications for a long time. And I even wanted to be like, let me help you, Kamala. Let me just help you.
I had sympathy for Kamala Harris because I was like, if you don't think they're going to ask you whether or not you're going to go, if you're going to go to the border, you might not want to do the interview.
Right. Let's take a look.
In the news conference here in Guatemala City, you had a message for would-be migrants: don't come. Why should they believe you when they know that people are getting in?
I've been working on this issue for a very long time, and the kind of violence and danger that is associated with that trek, especially when we're talking about from Guatemala through Mexico to the United States, it is extremely dangerous. We are looking at a situation where people are fleeing because of hunger, because of the hurricanes, because of the pandemic. So the reason I am here is to address those issues, knowing that the people who are here for generations, they want to stay, they don't want to leave, but they need opportunity, they need assistance, they need support.
Americans don't see a lot of that on a daily basis. What they do see at their own border, children being lowered over fences, children coming in with, you know, phone numbers stenciled on their hand. And so the question has come up, and you heard it here, and you'll hear it again, I'm sure. It's why not visit the border? Why not see what Americans are seeing in this crisis?
Well, we are going to the border. We have to deal with what's happening at the border. There's no question about that. That's not a debatable point. But we have to understand that there's a reason people are arriving at our border, and ask what is that reason, and then identify the problem so we can fix it.
Let's talk about the corruption issue. You're notably not visiting El Salvador or Honduras, where you have leaders who have had links to corruption. Do you have enough reliable partners in this northern triangle, in this region, to do what needs to be done?
So, you know, we are doing the work in the region as a whole. We've been engaged as an administration, as a country, at a high level with leaders in all three of the countries.
So what specifically are you offering these countries you're visiting? Is there a quid pro quo? If you do this, we'll do this?
No, it's not about quid pro quo. It's simply about understanding, if nothing else, that the return on our investment is the same return on your investment that if you have a neighbor on your block where you grew up who's having a hard time, it's in the best interest not only of your neighbor but yourself to help them out, right? And that's how we think about this work. What is the United States' interest in this? We're prepared to show up and do it in a way that is motivated by the best interest of diplomacy and democracy and goodwill.
So how quickly does this change what we see at the border?
There's not going to be a quick fix. We're not going to see an immediate return, but we're going to see progress. The real work is going to take time to manifest itself. Will it be worth it? Yes. Will it take some time? Yes.
President Biden, as vice president, led a very similar effort. What's significantly different about what you're doing this time?
I'm building off of what the president, then Vice President Joe Biden, did at that time, but also understanding that this moment is different in many ways. Take, for example, the pandemic. One of the first things we as a nation were able to offer Guatemala was support with their vaccines. I've made a commitment, and we announced it last week, of 500,000 vaccines to Guatemalans. Part of what we're doing is I've asked Microsoft to partner with us on what we can do to get people access to banking systems through technology and basically help them with their digital connectiveness. But the bones of the work, really, it's the same. Let's see the people, let's see their needs, and let's focus on it and understand our responsibility.
Why will it be successful this time if it wasn't in the past?
Well, I think there was success about what happened in the past. And again, when you look at what we're doing now, you're seeing progress. And so let's not overlook progress.
Just quickly put a button.
Okay.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
Well, I mention it because I know Republicans have certainly come at you on this, but Democratic Congressman Cuellar has a border district, has said to you and the president, come. You need to see this.
Listen, I care about what's happening at the border. I'm in Guatemala because my focus is dealing with the root causes of migration. There may be some who think that that is not important, but it is my firm belief that if we care about what's happening at the border, we better care about the root causes and address them. And so that's what I'm doing.
I just can't believe what we just watched with
Unbelievable.
Kamala Harris. But, someone who's going to break this down with us is Ben Ferguson, a syndicated radio talk show host and host of the Ben Ferguson podcast. Ben, thanks for joining us.
I tell you what, when you watch that clip, does it not remind you of a fake comment that actually people thought was real with Sarah Palin when she was, remember on Saturday Night Live when they're like, I can see Russia from my house, and people actually thought it was real. The only difference is this is actually real. She's like, well, I can see Europe, but I've never visited there, right? I can see Mexico. I had a Mai Tai there one time in college. I don't need to visit the border now while we have a increase of massive amounts of illegal immigrants coming across the border, more than we've ever seen in 16 years. With 4 months left in the fiscal year, I don't need to go there, right? I can see Europe. I can see America. I can look on a map. I got an iPhone. I just look it up and everything will be fine. This is the Vice President of the United States of America saying this. And even Lester Holt, if you look at what Lester Holt was doing there, I don't think he was trying to catch her. I think he was just personally so, I think, insulted that she would believe that answer could be passable, that he had no choice but to push back because otherwise he would be the biggest hack on network television.
Ben, help me understand. I almost feel like there's like a psychological analysis here. Like, where do you go from the border to Europe? Like, I understand if she would have said the border to like Guatemala or Latin America or something like that. But throwing in Europe, it's like throwing in the Queen. What do you think?
Look, when you're not, here's the best thing about being Kamala Harris. You can poll at 2% when you're running for president and somehow you become the vice president. And you never have to answer a tough question from the media. She never has since she's become president. This is the first time there's been any controversy that she's actually had to even respond to. So when you never get any of this type of treatment from the media, then why would you be prepared for it? She's obviously not prepared for it. I hear the White House is a little upset about this, that now she's made things so bad, which is so funny about this whole story is she now is going to have to go to the border. Like she had gotten away with being in charge of the border crisis, would never go in the border. There's no way now she can't go to the border. She's going to have to go, which means now the story actually has legs to it. People are paying attention to it. But you look at what has just been announced. You have 3 countries now basically saying to this administration in Mexico, that's in Guatemala, these leaders, they're saying in Ecuador, they're saying basically, screw you guys. You're not going to tell us how to run our country. You're not going to come down to Mexico City and tell us how to run our country. You guys created this problem by being welcoming. You guys created this problem by stopping the border wall from being done. You guys created this by saying once we're in office, if you're here by January 1, we're going to let you stay. And also, we're going to be more humane. You guys created this. Don't come down here and tell us how to run our nation. This is on you. And these are countries that we actually give money to. And this is how they're responding, because they're like, we're not taking it. You're not going to slander us. You did this. You own it. This is all your fault.
Yeah, no, I think that's completely right. And I think the politics of the border, Ben, are really bad for the Democrats, which I think is one of the reasons why she even said, don't come here, is not because we're going to actually secure the border. It's because they know politics are terrible. That's why the Republicans are picking up all these mayors. You talk to a lot of people across the country. You're going to be with us in CPAC in Dallas. Do you have the same kind of political analysis that an open border in and of itself and all the chaos, the humanitarian chaos, the chaos in these towns and everything else is going to accrue to the benefit of the Republican Party?
Yes, as long as the Republican Party makes it abundantly clear that if you give us back control of the House and the Senate, that we are going to stop this. And I think what you see with governors, which one of those governors is going to be speaking at CPAC, the governor of Texas, where he said, look, we have been abandoned by the federal government. We are going to start arresting people coming across the border. They're going to spend 6 months to a year in jail. We're going to de-incentivize you coming to Texas. You can go to another state if they want to be weak, so be it. And this administration, but Republicans have to be very careful here that they don't fall into the trap of the rhinos and run on this issue and do nothing about it. You have to back it up. If otherwise, I think you're going to have bigger problems come, in the future. This is a core issue that Americans want. They want safety. They want security.
Let me just say real quickly, I want you to jump in here, Mercy, but this is the big change is the fact that the Chamber of Commerce and the Business Roundtable and NAM, the National Association for Manufacturers, but those business groups have separated themselves from the Republican Party. And so I think it gives those of us who want to secure the border and want to have a rules-based immigration process real hope that the Republicans won't fall into the trap of going along with the globalist companies again.
Yeah, you have an opportunity here, I think, to build a bridge with people that maybe you haven't had relationships with for a while and get on the same page. That's something that Donald Trump did so well. Remember, he had a great relationship with union workers and jobs because there was such an easy way for him to say, hey, I want manufacturing in America. I want you to be duly employed. I want to work with you. I'm not going to let you take advantage of me, but I'm willing to work with you to bring back manufacturing in this country. You have that same type of opportunity right here that governors and state legislators can work with, and people that are running for office and elected officials that are running for re-election can use to their advantage right now. But they have to be smart about it. They have to not have empty promises, because you know this. The Republican Party has done a terrible job on the issue of border security until Donald Trump, giving empty promises and trying to do deals for amnesty, but then border security. There's too many people coming across the border. We have 4 months left in the fiscal year, and border numbers are showing now this is the highest number of illegal immigrants coming across the border in 16 years. We'll probably blow it out of the water. What's the most ever in history since we've been tracking these numbers, with 4 months left, 170,000 last month alone. These governors are under pressure. You see the crime statistics that are staggering on these border cities, but there's also something else that's happening here. Look at Tennessee. Look at Marsha Blackburn and the other senators there that I talked to this morning, Haggerty. They're concerned about these flights coming in the middle of the night into Chattanooga. Multiple planes coming in the middle of the night where illegal immigrants are being shipped all over the country because of the humanitarian crisis at the border, and this administration has to make them disappear all over the country.
Yeah, I think, you brought up the political sense of this, of saying, how are the Republicans and the rhinos going to respond? Are they going to be able to do anything at the border? I can tell you my time during the President Trump's administration, it was very difficult to get on the same page with the Democrats. So, I don't know, but what is your prediction? Do you think we can even get close to solving this problem, knowing that we not only do we have to take the House majority, even with the House majority in the hands of the Republicans, even winning the Senate, I don't see how anything gets done.
Well, you'll have obviously a veto from Biden, right? Are you going to get 2/3 to override? No. But what you can do is, I think the Republican leadership, if we go after this issue on a nationwide stance, that as a group, if you elect us, we will do everything in our power to stop the open border policy of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That's step one. Step two is we work with states and governors to let them do what they need to do to protect their state, just like DeSantis is led on so many issues, just like Abbott is leading in Texas on this issue. And you make that a core issue at the state legislature elections as well. And then you have the presidential election. But right now, what is happening is Democrats, this isn't an accident. This is being done deliberately on purpose. Don't give them an out that this is some sort of accident. They deliberately and purposely said, open our borders, flood with illegal immigrants, give them amnesty, and they'll vote for us one day. And that's the reason why Kamala Harris has not gone to the border so far, because they wanted this to happen, and it's working perfectly.
That's right.
And they're fundraising off of it,
That's
too.
right.
I mean, that's part of the deal.
Totally.
as
All
well.
act blue. You know, and then they wrapped us all up in wrapping paper. That's the wrapping paper of racism, Ben. They all feel like, you know, somehow if you're for an orderly immigration system or a closed border, that it's a racist intent behind it. But yet we've had all these Hunter Biden emails come out, and it's just been amazingly offensive, disgraceful banter on email. I mean, he obviously has a substance abuse problem. I don't know when he's sober, when he's not, but there comes a point when there's just an ick factor. And how come they don't want to cover this story? The text using the really disgraceful, you know, the N-word, all these types of texts that have been coming out.
Yeah, you look at Hunter Biden, and this, I go back to, remember when there was speculation and there was massive media reporting that Donald Trump in private, maybe back in the day, used the N-word with nothing to substantiate those claims. It was fabricated. It was totally made up. It was just, you know, another way to say Donald Trump and supporters are racist, and we heard a rumor once. You have the actual words from Hunter Biden, and not just the N-word, but also just mocking African-American culture, talking about Hennessy prices, implying that African-Americans have this, you know, alcohol they prefer and this price that goes along with it. That is hardcore racism. Being born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, and seeing what racism can do in a city where Martin Luther King was murdered, right? You understand how hurtful words can be, and you look at what it can do to a city and the divide that can happen. Where the hell is the media today reporting on the story? How the hell does the President of the United States of America not have to put out a statement about the N-word being used by his son? Imagine if Donald Trump Jr. or anyone in Trump's sphere used this word in an email, not by rumor. They would be screaming at the president to have a primetime press conference apologizing on behalf of his last name of his family, that they had hurt so many African Americans, none of them asking it.
Or they'd say, President Biden, maybe it's not you and it's your son, but you need to make a public commitment that he doesn't go to the White House. He has no role to play in things. Like, they would demand these things, and there's silence with this.
He's the smartest guy. He's the smartest guy that Joe Biden knows is Hunter Biden. And this is what he was writing in his email. So I guess he knows the smartest racist in his family. Congratulations.
Well, another point is that, remember, it was last year, right, when the media ignored the Hunter Biden story, never investigated to see what was going on with the emails and potential deals between Hunter Biden and President Biden. So they, you know, I think in the minds of the media, they don't want to touch the kids. Yet when it was President Trump, the media was all over the Trump children.
Yeah. Look, he's a grown man. Okay. He's not a child. I think children, Obama's children, they should be off limits. I think that's a fair point. When you're under 18, you are off limits. He's a grown man. He has done a lot of work in politics. He's made millions of dollars off of his father. He has shady business dealings, and you have an administration, by the way. The other big story here is that refuses to hold China accountable for the coronavirus and the lies that cost millions of people around the world their lives, hundreds of thousands of Americans in this country. And you have to wonder why this president will not hold China accountable. Is it because of the dealings that his son had with China and his brother had with China? Is it the fact that China owns the Biden family? I don't know how that's on a front page news story either.
Well, Ben, let me tell you, you should just request an interview with Hunter Biden. I'm sure they'll tell you no, but that would be a killer interview.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for joining us on CPAC Now, America Uncanceled. We can't wait to see you in Dallas, Texas. Thanks so much.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
And we'll be right back, so stay with us. Welcome back to CPAC Now, America Uncanceled. always love having Ben Ferguson on, and I want to get him back on to talk about Fauci.
Yeah, no, he's really good, and I think he might have to become a regular.
I know.
Although we probably have to pay him a bunch of money because, I mean, he's got a lot of gigs going on.
He does. But let's get straight to your tweets, Matt.
Is that our new tweet music? Whenever there's a tweet, we're going to have the music.
Maybe we should have a little music in the background. Good. But what happened with Burger King? Burger King trolls Chick-fil-A in a new campaign vowing donations to the LGBTQ group for every chicken sandwich sold, quote, even on Sundays. And you respond, mocking Christians for keeping the Sabbath, and that's okay. Who runs Burger King PR?
Yeah, I mean, it's like it shows you that the people doing the public relations for these big companies, and Burger King is headquartered in Florida. It's not like they're in some big blue state. Like, don't mock Chick-fil-A. You can mock Chick-fil-A for a lot of things, but not for the owners believing that Sunday should be held sacred as the Sabbath because they're a strong Christian family. You know, they're going out there with their tolerance when it comes to LGBTQ issues, but then they're being intolerant when it comes to people of faith. It just shows you that shouldn't have gone through 7 minutes of a conversation around one of those fancy boardrooms where they make these decisions and spend millions of dollars for the PR. And there should be more outrage. Don't mock people who want to close down their business because, you know, they want to keep the Sabbath. I know of a Jewish store that we frequent, and, you know, they're not open on Saturday. I don't mock them for it. I respect them for it, and we should go back to respecting people.
I'm thinking that that the next Republican president should declare, like, one of the months, you know how every month is something, Religious Liberties Month. That's what
I like it.
Don't you love it?
I love it. It's good.
Well, we also had actually a very sad incident happen where an Amazon driver basically beat up an old woman who declined to acknowledge her white privilege. And you tweeted about this. You said, there are consequences to stoking racial animosity. Angry people feel justified to be nasty, violent, because some are deplorable. This won't end well. Pray for America and for an immediate halt of support for BLM Inc. and critical race theory and an embrace of MLK Jr.'s example.
Yeah, this is the real problem, sweetheart. You and I talk about it a lot. Because our language has been allowed to go to these places where you can judge somebody solely on the color of their skin, and that if you're white, you know, you're associated with owning slaves, even though, as we all know, that was well into our past. And so we're holding the sins of forefathers to the people of today. So I don't know what happened between these two women at that door. I do know this, that first of all, that delivery driver is an idiot because almost everybody has a Ring doorbell who gets Amazon packages or one of these doorbells where there's a camera. And in the age of cell phones, that's just stupid. You can be evil in your heart, but you should at least be some smart in how you practice your evil. But the second thing is, I think she felt like it was justified. I don't know what that woman could have said or done to justify a younger person beating up an older person. We see this with all the Jews that are getting beaten up on the street by people.
And Asian Americans too.
Yeah, and Asian Americans. It's all of this kind of racial turmoil that's being stoked by the Black Lives Matter movement in this country. We call it Black Lives Matter Incorporated here because it's all very well funded through Act Blue, through corporate America, and it's this whole idea that somehow you're justified in your violence and your rage. And maybe it's true that racism is so terrible that we have emotions about it, but it can't turn into this where you just kind of like start attacking your fellow citizens.
And we can't stoke division either in America. We have to find a way that we can come together and find common ground. And I think that that's a big part that's missing right now.
Exactly. And we have to remember that we're all in this together. It wasn't just about a virus. It's about a whole country. We're all in this together.
Right. Well, one thing that did not happen this past weekend was that Joe Biden forgot to even recognize D-Day, which was June 6th.
Well, Kamala Harris didn't seem to know what Memorial Day was.
Right. She said, enjoy your long weekend.
3-day weekend is what she said. So what I think you're seeing here, Mercy, now you were obviously someone who was in a senior position for the Trump comms team. I actually think you have a bunch of young people in their comms department that think things like D-Day, Memorial Day are like throwbacks that their grandparents care about, but it's not relevant to the discussion today. And when we forget our history, oh my gosh, we're going to repeat all the worst parts of it.
And it was the 77th anniversary of the Normandy invasion. This day, D-Day, this day in history marks the beginning of the end of World War II. The Allies risked it all to liberate Western Europe and the world. continues to reap the reward of their sacrifices. So for those brave men who lost their lives, sacrificed their lives for our freedom and for the freedoms of those across the country, we will not forget you.
That's right. And the other thing is, remember, they were young.
Yep.
Those people coming off those boats, you're talking about 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids.
Yep.
And, could we do something like that today? Are our kids ready for that? It's a troublesome question.
Well, but on some good news that we have coming out of Washington, D.C., which is not very frequent these days, we have Senator Joe Manchin, who said he will not vote for S1. That's, of course, the equivalency of H.R. 1 for the PEOPLE Act, which would fundamentally change our voting system here in the United States, federalizing our elections. So I actually think that's a step in the right direction, because we know that the Democrats would require a majority to get this through the Senate.
Yeah, just keep your eyes on Joe Manchin. And Kristen Sinema said she wouldn't change on her position on the filibuster. So what that means is, if they follow the law, they can't push H.R. 1 into law, right? Through another way, because this kind of wall is holding, and it's only because of you out there. So keep pushing hard, especially if you live in West Virginia or Arizona. You know what Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin realize?
What?
Is that if they go along with this socialist agenda coming from Biden and Schumer, they won't win re-election.
Right.
So
Well,
that's because of your voice that they realize
That's
that.
right. And more of their agenda is being exposed on a day-to-day basis. But we've got a big event coming up, July 9th through the 11th, CPAC, Texas. Really, our list of speakers, it's remarkable.
It's great.
From President of the United States, Donald Trump, I was going to say Don Jr. will be joining us as well.
Yep.
So we've got a great group of governors, senators coming in. They want to talk to you about what we need to do to make sure we save America and make sure that America does not get canceled.
And I learned today that we're adding a whole training component on the lead up to CPAC as well, because so many of you want to know what they've done in Texas to turn things around. So we got to learn from these smart Texans.
Great. Well, don't forget to follow us on social media at CPAC, at MSchlapp, at Mercedes Schlapp. We always want to hear your feedback. So let us know what you're thinking about the show and who else you want to see on the show. So thanks for watching, and good night.